Weekly Life Challenge. Stronger, happier, better, together. Well, hello everybody, and thank you for joining me here at Weekly Life Challenge. This is the end of week 3, the beginning of week 4. So this past week I spent challenging myself to lighten the apartment, which means getting rid of things that I don't need and bringing them to someone who potentially could use them. That was the idea of harnessing the power of spring, the energy in spring to kind of get in there and dig through the closets and lighten. And I did that mostly. I did not get as much done as I had wanted, even though I didn't set a very specific goal for myself in terms of quantity. I still found that I didn't get through as much as I had hoped or wanted to, even secretly deep down inside. Partly it's because it's hard work. It's not physically hard work, but I find it emotionally tiring. All the decision making and sorting and reflection that goes into the process. And also it's a hard thing to start. It seems like a daunting task, and so getting started was often the problem. I had hoped that once I started, seeing the progress would give me the motivation to kind of power through and like go room by room by room and just kind of get everything done. And in fact, kind of the opposite was what I experienced. So I started on day 1 with an area in the entryway which has our winter stuff and a bunch of shoes that are either too big or too small, besides the shoes that we do wear. And I thought I had to put it away anyway because winter is over. So I started there and I did really well. I made excellent progress, and I really loved looking at that part of the apartment because it looked so clean and empty and light. But instead of that making me want to go and do that same thing to other places, I just felt great satisfaction in looking at it. And so it was a bit of a backfire, but I did eventually move on. And so I did do the toys. I'd like to do the toys. I gathered up all the toys that I thought the kids weren't playing with or I wouldn't notice were missing. And I haven't given them away just yet because I wanted to give them a chance to request them, to notice they're not there and request them before I actually make a permanent donation of them. So they're hidden in the closet. But very interestingly, the day after I did that with the toys, we went to get our teeth cleaned. The kids got their teeth cleaned. And after the cleaning, which they were so amazing at, the kids are 2 and 6, and it was their first time at the dentist. And so they went through the whole process and everything was fine. They were brave, superstars. And then at the end, the hygienist said, "And now I have some things for you." And so she gave them a toothbrush and toothpaste like you would expect, and some floss. And then she opened another cupboard and gave them a timer, and opened another cupboard and gave them a plastic bouncy ball, and another cupboard, they got to choose their own pencil. And that's not even the end. There was a little plastic slidey puzzle, a ring, they each got a ring, lip gloss, and a toy car, all in a plastic bag with a tooth on it or something. So it was so much stuff that they were coming home with right after I had purged all their stuff. So I feel like this is a process that's going to continue forever and ever and ever, as long as things keep coming into the house like this. Incidentally, it's been 4 or 5 days now, and the only things they still play with are the rings. And they still use the toothbrushes. But all that stuff, it's going to eventually get in my purge bin. Is there anything else I want to say about week 3? For my clothes, I pulled them all out of the closet. I read a book about a year ago about the KonMari method. I forget what it's called. I'll figure it out and leave a link. And she was talking about the way to deal with clutter in your life is to gather everything of the same category from your living space and put it together and then sort it at one time. So if you're going to do books, you gather the books from every part of the house. If you're going to do clothes, you get the clothes from the hall closet and the clothes from your bedroom and the drawers and everything. You put them all together. And so I emptied all my drawers and I piled them up on the bed, and I very efficiently went through the socks and undergarments. And then I lost my steam and left the pile there. for a couple days. I moved it from the bed to this floor so that I could sleep, but that pile remained there for a few days. I just took some clothes out in the morning to put on and added them back in the end of the day to the pile. So it took a long time, but I finally got through those and I felt really good when I did. And they're sitting in the trunk with a couple other bags. But today, just today, I finally finished going through the baby clothes. And on a recommendation of a friend, I brought them to a pregnancy shelter, which is actually not too far from from where I live. And it was so great. I feel happy to have found this place, which is doing fantastic work, and I'm really pleased to give them my cute little dresses that I didn't really want to part with, but don't need anymore, and a few other baby things that I found around the house too. So I feel good at the end of the week for as much as did get accomplished, but there is much, much more to be done. And so I think maybe setting aside a little bit of time each week is gonna maybe be a little easier than trying to do it all at once. So I think I'm just gonna keep working at it little by little and see how far we can get. Pause. Yes? They're gone. They're gone. You should tell me that yesterday. Okay, so that was week 3. Let's move on to week 4. This week I want to practice mindful eating. So I've been noticing recently that I'll often be making breakfast for somebody or lunch for somebody, and while I'm doing that, I'm also eating my lunch. And so when it's time to sit down and eat, I'm either half finished or completely finished. And so I'm eating while I'm working, or often at work also I would eat, even though we have a table set aside for lunch, I often would eat at my desk while I was working, or at home. If I'm eating, I'll pick up my phone and I'll browse the internet or whatever I'm doing while I'm eating. I very rarely just sit and focus on eating. Dinner time is the exception. Our family eats together at dinner time, but then the focus is a lot more on making sure everybody's eating and sitting on their chairs the whole time and picking up rice off the floor, and conversation too, like having a family time together more than on the food. So this week I'm going to try to spend a meal a day, or at least part of a meal a day, eating consciously, mindfully eating. So what that means to me is removing all the distractions. So no reading or listening, just no thinking. I'll try not to have deep thoughts at the same time. But focusing on the food, noticing the flavors and savoring them and the textures, and eating slowly, putting my fork down between bites, relaxing and making it an event, making the eating of the meal an event. I spend a lot of time preparing food, and I like to do that. I enjoy cooking, and I enjoy a lot of the aspects around food. I like choosing fresh ingredients, and I like experimenting with flavors. All that stuff I enjoy. And so if I put that much care into the preparation of a meal, it only makes sense that I should try to get as much enjoyment out of the meal as I can. So I've done the very classic mindful eating. What's that thing? It's not an experiment. Process. What's the word I'm looking for? We're going to go with thing. The raisin. So you take a single raisin, put it in your hand, look at it, notice the textures and the way the light shimmers here and there, and you really look at it and feel it in your hand and listen to it and smell it, and finally put it in your mouth and feel it in your mouth, and observe what is happening as you before you bite down, like the saliva starting, and sometimes maybe your stomach is even growling, and then your tongue, what it's doing to put it in position to chew, and finally the chewing and the burst of flavor, because a raisin is crazy sweet, and enjoying that for a while, and finally swallowing. And that process is the classic mindful eating thing. You can look on YouTube, and you can see people kind of talking you through the process if you're interested in that. I did it, and I think it was a great experience, but I'm not about to go into that kind of detail with this through the week. Otherwise, I will spend the whole week at the table. So instead, it's just, as I said before, being aware, being more focused on the meal, on the food, enjoying the flavors, the textures, chewing a little more carefully. And I think what will come of that, besides better digestion, is a greater sense of gratitude for the fabulous food that I have access to, and the frequency with which I am able to eat, and many other things related to food. So that is week 4, and I'm looking forward to that. And if you do practice mindful eating, I'd love to hear how that has worked out for you. And I'm also really curious how you did with last week's lightening, if you were able to make more progress than I did, or if you have a good or bad story to tell. I'd love to hear that. So you can find out more and leave your stories and your comments on weeklylifechallenge.com or on the Facebook page, which is related to that, and which you can also find at the website. And have a really great week. Okay, you can stop. I'm done. The end.